Welcome back to State of the State. I'm your host, Morgan C. Mullings, and today we have another candidate for Assembly. It is Ryder Kessler. He's running for State Assembly District 66, and he is bringing another progressive view to Lower Manhattan. So we're going to talk a little bit today about his campaign. Hi, Ryder. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. So why don't you tell everyone why you are running for District 66?
Sure. So, a brief overview of who I am. I'm a lifelong downtown Manhattanite. I was born in St. Vincent's Hospital, grew up a few blocks away, and have lived in the West Village since right after college. Most of my career I spent in the tech world. I started a company to help low-wage service workers collect more tips and nonprofits collect more donations. So I spent the last few years working in politics, trying to make progressive change. Generally, that has been around helping Democrats beat Republicans up and down the ballot. So I worked on the presidential race, Senate, House, state legislative races. But looking closer to home, I have seen a frustrating lack of action on the existential challenges New Yorkers are facing. I look right out my window and I see that New York is the most expensive rental market in the country, and that we have 8.8 million people here now, but we lost 4.5% of our Black population between 2010 and 2020 because of displacement. We have plenty that needs to be done right here, not just in Washington. And I have seen a frustrating lack of action from our representatives in Albany, specifically in the Assembly, on tackling those challenges.
So it's not only your political views, but also your background, your lived experiences in Lower Manhattan that contribute to your campaign. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think living here for my entire life, also being a gay man in Lower Manhattan, in the queer center of New York City, and the place where activists before us have fought for expanded rights for all marginalized people. I've seen the ways that Lower Manhattan has often led the charge, but not so much recently. So, I think very specifically looking at our neighborhood, this is a neighborhood where we should be fighting for the needs of marginalized people. It's a neighborhood where we have always prided ourselves on vibrant streetscapes, and we should be embracing things like the open restaurants program that's been such a success during COVID, but which the incumbent I'm challenging has been a major opponent of. We should be leading the charge on reimagining how we use our streets to embrace more protected bike lanes and dedicated busways and public transit that will serve more people and reduce carbon emissions so that we can address climate change. We should be leading the charge on, making sure we are serving folks who need a place to sleep overnight, and to build more housing and affordable housing specifically to reduce rents for everyone.
Right. And you mentioned your opponent, the incumbent Deborah Glick. You guys seem to have a little bit of things that you disagree on. What would you do differently should you have her position?
Yeah. Let me start by saying that I have a lot of respect for the path-breaking nature of Deborah Glick's service in the Assembly. She was the first openly out legislator in the Assembly when she was elected in 1990. I think the question now is, are we leveraging our privilege as a relatively affluent area in New York on behalf of folks who need more from the state? And I think I would be advocating for a set of policies that more closely align with where the district is right now. This district has changed a lot over the last few decades since I was born and raised right nearby. And we are a set of folks who are 70% renters and want the housing market to be more affordable. We are a district that is 94% folks who do not drive to work. We take public transit, we walk, we bike, and we want to see the streetscape adjusted to serve us. And I think the incumbent has generally promoted the desires of drivers and and kind of saving street space for cars and for parking. And then on things just as basic as outdoor dining, my opponent led a rally the other day saying that we should go back to the status quo and end the open restaurants program. And I just think that's not where folks are at. 80% of Manhattanites say they love it. I love it. I brunch out in dining structures every weekend, and I think a lot of other folks do too. And those restaurants, because they have those customers, can afford to pay the 100,000 people who work in those restaurants. So I think we have a different perspective on what we want our neighborhoods to look like, and what we want policy to be at the state level.
Right, well, you are both very vocal about your opinions and your beliefs. And so I wish you the best of luck in your campaign.
Thank
We're
you.
wishing all the candidates the best of luck. We have a really
Thank you.
long road ahead in 2022. So I hope you're able to come back on the show and talk more with us.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to State of the State. Please come back for more candidate interviews for the State Assembly.